Welcome to Quantum Kinetics First Diffusion episode number 5. I'm here with
Randal Bird, the President and Chief Operating Officer of Quantum Kinetics Corporation.
And I'm going to go ahead and open up a RedBull.
Please join me.
Try to keep up with you. So what are we going to be talking about today, Randal?
Okay, so first of all, McKane, we have breaking news. And we are over the moon about this. We made our national television debut on the Bloomberg TV Network this past weekend. And our segment was absolutely beautiful. It was well done. We're very proud of Bloomberg for running it. And McKane, anything that you've taken away from the aftermath of that?
It was just amazing, and you should check it out in the link description below. And we had a really good time filming it with the crew. And
yeah, they were awesome. Thanks to the crew that came out. And also, just a couple other things. We had a watch party, too. And thanks to everybody from the Quantum Kinetics group that came out and enjoyed that with us. We had a spot in a pub. It was interesting because the folks in the pub kind of got into it. This was like in the middle of their sessions of their life, Norm and Cheers and the whole thing. And it was kind of fun to see them kind of look over and take interest and then cheer with us. It was really, really very cool.
It was kind of surreal because they were like, is that them on the television? This is crazy. Are they talking about fusion? This is amazing. So yeah. That kind of energy was really, really exciting for us because we felt like kind of part of a collective group.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that takeaway is a lifelong memory. It's going to be hopefully one of a string of many, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. Randal. And speaking of memories, anything else happened recently?
Wow, the United States Patent and Trade Office. Boy, did we get some interesting news from them, too, regarding our very famous now Quantum Kinetic Fusor. Do you want to tell us about the classes and what it means for us and our futures?
Yeah, absolutely, Randal. So the United States Patent and Trademark Office granted the allowance of the Quantum Kinetic Fusor trademark for class 009 and 042 for the first ever nuclear isotope cold fusion reactor to manipulate and transmutate elements for Quantum Kinetics Corporation. So we now have a patent on the Quantum Kinetic Fusor, and we also have the allowance for the Quantum Kinetic Fusor for a cold nuclear fusion reactor, which we have a very special surprise for you because we're going to go over and demo it with putting RedBull as the fusion dielectric, like we talked about in episode number 1 with the straw. Yeah. Randal's going to turn the knob.
Yeah, so we're going to do a little bit of the demonstration that will prove, once again, what the difference between forcing out and drawing in. So without further ado, let's roll right on over to the tabletop and move on that.
All right, sounds really good. Let's go do that.
All right, let's do that right now.
If you want to check out the experiment for episode 5, go ahead and check out our YouTube channel at Quantum Kinetics Corporation First Diffusion episode 5. Now, back to the podcast. Oh, way to go, Randal.
Oh, my fingers are still hot.
You hit 100 million degrees Celsius.
Is that?
Easy peasy, lemon
that was
squeezy.
Fun. It was easy. It was fun. Do you know what that is, McKane? That is fusion on demand in seconds off of a 12-volt battery again.
That's the arc reactor fusion on demand technology at work, not just using on ambient air, but also using on different dielectric like water and also RedBull. So we just proved to you, the audience, that nuclear fusion is here. It's not a joke. It's real. We can change the world, and we can make a better world for you right now.
I'll drink to that, bro.
I'll drink to that as well. Thank you, Randal. Good job.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the demo results, too, because we went through and we saw some numbers that we posted. And some of them are the very salient numbers, the ones that we really want to get into. Obviously, 10K EV happened very quickly because we can do that every time, all the time. Mm-hmm. There's no question and no denying that. So let's dive into just a little bit about what we saw once the fusor got going, we started to get readouts, and then we were starting to see power consumption and a couple of the other readouts. Do you want to take us through a little bit of that again?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So what was actually happening in that reactor while you were watching it was that the electrons were being pulled out of the dielectric of the RedBull. And as the electrons are being pulled out and it was illuminating those 9 LED headlights at low power, what was it, 5 watts total, I think it was?
Yeah, got up around there.
Yeah, and so basically what that's telling you is that the electron current flow in traditional DC electrolysis or even AC power, the electrons were being held back on the ground state and the electrons are being sucked out on the top side for energy consumption. And as the universe does that, it has to renormalize. And every time an electron falls into the nucleus because of this force field, this negative pressure, then X-ray will show up. And that's what you were seeing on the screen when Randal hit 10 keV. He broke a world record. And by the way,
do you have something to share that might help inform just a little bit?
Man, you jumped ahead on me,
we got props, baby.
So there's this fancy graph, and it's right here, and we'll put it up on the screen too. But there is a peak up here at 10 keV where all these different reactors are trying to reach 10 keV stabilized.
Is this the current world's stock and inventory of technology all on one sheet, and what they do and what they can and cannot do?
Totally. This is basically the holy grail of nuclear fusion Q factor for in terms of your keV value. So you can even see it right here in the keV right there. So right now you have all these different competitors that we have here that are trying to do nuclear fusion, have been trying to do nuclear fusion since the 1950s. They cannot maintain a 10 keV in their reactor longer than 22 minutes without destroying the reactor.
And that is because the difference between our technology and theirs is
that we do a cold nuclear fusion, instantaneous fusion on demand at room temperature. We do not use bulk ion heating, which is a traditional approach to fusion. And we have a better product. And we're so happy that potentially we can partner with these hot fusion companies because we don't have to wait anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Like, we're ready to go right now. Why are we waiting?
Right. And so let's just kind of tie this together. Bloomberg TV, national exposure, a demonstration, attestations, the type of things that would say, well, why wouldn't you want to work with these guys? They have it, so what are you waiting for? Oh, and the Patent and Trade Office. They get on board for the class that we needed to prove where we're taking this technology. Would they give that out like candy to a kid?
Well, you want to talk about that. There's actually I don't know if I want to talk about that because that's a little bit too avant-garde, but I'll say this, that when the technology works, which it does, our technology is research verified by the Department of Energy. We've also done private research verification with peer review in industry, which we can't really talk too much about, but we've shown a lot of our stuff in our press releases. The thing about it is, ladies and gentlemen, it's here now. And we can save the world. We can clean up radioactive waste. We can, clean up water. We can potentially get rid of forever chemicals. There's a whole host of things that we can do with this technology. And the only thing stopping us from changing this world into a better place is you getting involved with us.
Right. So, and there are many ways we can do that. We'll put some notes into our broadcast down below the afterwards.
Yep.
Please catch up with us too. We've got ideas about where this is going. We want also to bring you along, but also hear your ideas too, not just for our broadcast, but let us hear from you in general. Ask questions. I mean, we're excited to share what we can without giving away the secret sauce, of course, but this is an invitation. We have a genuine appreciation and affection for everyone who follows along with this and is watching this thing grow. So with that, we were going to break down just a wee bit more on KEV. And so I know that we've kind of touched on this before, and I don't want to, beat the living horse or the dead one, but not too much. But we do want to separate ourselves again from what we've observed elsewhere. And as we have mentioned, the properties of the other companies, let's focus on ours, because let's give a positive message. Let's take this the right direction. And again, pour into this a little bit about why KEV from our reading that we just did on that demo, and by the way, that's it back on the screen
Mhm.
back there. We just did that. So what is so great about our signature? What is so great about our continuance of ability to sustain?
Mhm.
Get into that, man.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So the wonderful thing about this technology, Randall, is that like the hot fusion crew, they have to stand behind bore-weighted concrete walls, and they cannot stand next to their reactors and turn them on. They will die.
That's the straw blowing.
Correct. That's the straw in episode 1 of the Red Bull straw blowing. If the bubbles hit you, which are the fast neutrons, you die. And in our situation, we have cold neutrons, and we can stand next to our reactor and then be fine. And that's the kind of technology you want in industry because it's safe, it's reliable, it's consistent, and it's vectorable to what you need. For example, if you want it in your home and you want to basically clean your water, you can have it at low power. But if you want something for military use, you can crank the voltage up to higher and get even more exotic photons and exotic reactions.
Right. So in applications, and we'll be getting ahead of ourselves if we start talking about episode 6, because we've got some definite information coming up for that too. But in our applications, we've looked at the possibilities and we've talked about the different industries that we can touch, the kinds of things that we have the capability to do today.
Mm-hmm.
In a partnership, that would be, boy, that would take off in a exponential level if we can just, see some of that come together.
Randall, with this technology, we literally could have every single hot fusion reactor running as a cold nuclear fusion reactor within 6 to 12 months with a re-engineering status structure of our technology. And matter of fact, speaking of the hot fusion people doing cold nuclear fusion, that we actually have evidence to suggest that people are trying to copy us in the patent office. And we have our three-eyed ravens, so to speak, from Lord of the Rings. They're watching the competition, and so we're very diligent about what's going on because we know that this is worth $40 trillion, and we're being smart about it. But the thing about this, Randall, is that fusion is love, and love is fusion. We want to work with you guys. This is the most important point that we can make today, is that this technology is only being stopped because people are not getting aboard the ship.
Right, and so we are offering something to the world in a sense that is needed. And there's this wall, and it's the wall of pushing through acceptance of this technology actually doing what we claim. There's this wall of reception on the other side that would have to admit to a degree the longstanding service they've been trying to provide isn't doing the longstanding result they've been trying to attain. So we're asking, can you come along and at least talk to us, and we will take you through a little bit more of what a future could look like together.
Yeah, the technology is just absolutely astonishing what you can do with this. I mean, like, I have ideas about the technology. I know you have ideas about technology, Randall, but if we get a partner to come in, like any of our competitors, they may have ideas that we haven't thought of too that we can implement this technology into.
And the point being, we can do it.
Yeah. No. I'm going to give you guys all a little bit of a secret since you've been staying tuned for the last 20 minutes. But here's a little secret that nuclear fusion, cold nuclear fusion, has actually been in American households, and they didn't even know it. Back in 1955, there was a massive amount of this technology in your household, but you had no idea what it was. But now it's gone. It's all gone.
Yeah.
And we're doing a reboot. Like, hey, we know what it is. It's a reboot time to make it better.
Yeah. And so we will continue to try to get the word out. We're asking you to support us in that regard. Get the word out. Share this. Tell the world, because this is the time. I mean, we've been waiting a long time for something. Something is here. Let's go, right?
And we have, like, at the end of the day, like, we have spent almost a decade, 10 years almost, getting this to a maturity state with legalization, with research verification, to make sure that the naysayers and all the people that have, that can't do that, they're just like the negative people.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that when we came out that we were totally clean, that we were beautifully polished, and we nailed it. And what that does for you is that it allows you to know that it's real. And we just demonstrated it again, and we'll demonstrate it again and again. We can demonstrate this all day long, and we want the world to have this, because if we get this into the industry and we start implementing this, ladies and gentlemen, I guarantee you in 10 years, you will not recognize 2025. It'll be like, what, we did that kind of dirty tech?
Yeah.
What were we thinking?
I want to back up just 1 second a little bit more. If there's naysayers, why are they copying and attempting to file things that look like what we are doing and have filed? That's not exactly poo-pooing us and then turning around and saying, but we'll try to do that. That's incongruent with a reality that says this isn't working or we don't have what we claim.
Well, historically speaking, Randall, and we talked a little bit about this in episode 3, I think, but when the radio was introduced back in the 1900s by Nikola Tesla, he got his 2 patents granted. And then there was a think tank that came in and basically commissioned Marconi, who was doing radio in Europe, to come over to the US. And then the think tank money people pushed Tesla's patent off the shelf, and they basically took away his patents. And so then these companies were able to do nuclear fusion, or I'm sorry, not nuclear fusion, but actually it's funny because the radio is very close to nuclear fusion, so that's why my brain kind of got messed up there. But the point is that history is repeating, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And we know what the history has done in the past. We know where things are going right now. So don't try any of your nonsense, because you don't want to do that. It's not worth it. It really is not.
Well, right. And you're delaying something that is the benefit for each and every one of us. That if you long for it, you should reach for it.
Right.
If it's right there in front of you, don't slap the hand that's reaching out.
Yeah.
Grab the hand and take it and guide it to it with you.
What this really is all about is egos. And with this technology, I feel like I'm kind of a pastor, but like with this technology, Randall, we have to put away our ego. We have to put away the hate. We have to put away the greed. We have to get rid of all the 7 sins, because if we have any tinge of that mentality in our brain and our soul with this technology, we could do some real harm to the universe and also our potentially galactic neighbors. And what I'm trying to tell you is that we should only, as a group, as a civilization on Earth, we should only go forward with this technology with love and understanding that we're here to make a better planet for the bugs, the bees, the flowers, the trees, the whales, everything, ourselves, because we have to really start growing up. We have to. And it's going to be hard. And I know we can do it, because I know I went through a very transformational experience with the discovery of this technology. I am a very humbled person. This technology is extremely powerful. And we have to respect Mother Nature.
I will just say this. I've seen you afraid of it once before, and I won't get into the details, but I remember you being a little bit frightened at the power in the hand. And that was good, because it's humbling and it's honest to say, you learn along the way. I mean, experimentation comes at sometimes with a little bit of cost. And I think that hanging in there, staying in the game, seeing it all the way through to where we are today, and on the cusp of full emergence. We can't talk about some of the things that are going on that are going to predicate some of that. However, just know that we're in works. But it does tell us a little bit about, you didn't come this far to get on national television and featured. You didn't come this far to where patents are rolling off one by one. And by the way, thank you, U.S. Patent and Trade Office. You guys are awesome. How much we appreciate the speed and ease with which these patents are being
and trademarks.
Yeah. Correct. And so all of this is important to us in our protection of our intellectual properties and so forth, and to take those in the future. But I want to take a little bit now of a slight course turn.
Okay.
We had talked about one of the things that I think is of interest to every single person, good, bad, or otherwise, and that is the forever chemicals. And we had talked a little bit about the transmutation, electrophysical transmutation, and some of the byproducts and some of the transformation elements that take place, including some of those that are found in the bad, chemicals and so forth that we're seeing in oceans and in landfills, in backyards in some places.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about this forever chemical and what we can do as a company with our technology. Can we address some of that?
Yeah. So we have not done, just full disclosure, we have not done any testing of the transmutation effects of forever chemicals from pharmaceuticals or even toxins or whatnot. What I can tell you is that we have cracked uranium 234, 235, and 238 and turned it into tungsten, thorium, lead. Now, deductive reasoning would say that if you can do the impossible, which is break uranium down into other elements like that, you could probably do that with forever chemicals quite about the same or easier.
So let me ask you, from our previous results that we've shown, from the sample we had with 0000,
Yes.
and then post-treatment loaded it up with all kinds, do those forever chemicals fall in those bands? Because that is basically the periodic table, correct?
Yeah, so we, with this technology, with hitting 100 million degrees and even 50 million degrees, these temperatures are stupid hot. But when you think of hot, you're thinking, well, why aren't you burning up? Actually, the X-rays, they have a lot more energy than microwave, infrared, visible light, and even UV. But the thing is, when those X-rays are being emitted inside the reactor, it literally transmutates. And that's, by the way, that's the only good thing about X-rays, is transmutation. You can't make electricity with X-rays, really, because the wavelength is so tiny. So the only thing good about our reactors right now is that we basically transmutate, which is basically a Nobel Prize. And we were so excited to show you guys, but our brains are starting to go, hey, if we can break uranium, what other things can we break that are noxious and bad?
Right, because we saw in the results off of that test, and when we saw the values that came through, and some of it was applied current to result, and I've called it once before in a podcast we did with Tony
Sabog.
Yeah, and I called it the easy bake oven, because a certain level will produce a certain output. And therefore, you hit middle bands, and you're talking even some minerals that are interesting.
And speaking of minerals, what we've noticed, and we've mentioned this before, but the longer you leave it on, the more it wants to turn into carbon and nitrogen and oxygen. And we've also noticed, too, that there's chlorine being developed, too, and nanoparticles. So if you look at the periodic table, we have a curve that is occurring of a concentration buildup of very specific elements, very similar to like a planetary core or a crust or a moon, all these things. We literally have a synthetic gravitational flux field that makes microplanets. And by the way, we have SEM images of some of the sediment that we've done with seawater, and you can see they're nanospheres. They're perfectly spherical iron oxide carbon rocks, essentially.
Right. So tying this back to the forever chemicals, to put a bow on that, we can get some time potentially to do this if we have the right resources and the right availability to take this where it needs to go. We would love to show the world that. Let's get rid of nuclear radiation waste. Let's get rid of forever chemicals. It sounds too good to be true. Everybody's probably like, guys are full of it. And it's like, no, there's a difference here. There is a new physics taking place. And that's the thing, again, one of the barriers we're having to overcome, the difference between hot fusion and cold fusion. When we found that the cold fusion elements were being validated, even the people in the room, the physicists, were having a little bit of a head scratcher. Like, I'm not sure I can't wrap my head around my 20 years in industry and 8 years of college to get to this place. And these guys are going to literally be taking a new wing out in every university to study this. We don't even know ourselves the entire spectrum of possibility here. But we're very happy with the idea that we could start doing that what it could mean for everybody.
You want to know something interesting? Back in 2020, around COVID time, Quantum Kinetics founders, we met on Zoom with the cold nuclear fusion expert at Google, who was in charge of those cold nuclear fusion experiments that they did back in 2023 for publishing in Nature.
Mm-hmm.
When we were on the phone Zoom with him, he said, "McKane, you have everything that we're looking for. Everything that you say, you're making X-rays, you're making soft gamma, like, from a granite countertop, and you've got soft, cold neutrons. That is exactly what we know to be fusion, and you're saying everything right." And so having an industry expert like that, way back in the day when we were early on, say that, it was like, well, we got to keep going and we got to keep forging forward. And now that we have, because we have really good support, we have people coming in, investors and friends and family helping out to get to this point, we now know definitively, ladies and gentlemen, and we have nuclear cold fusion, and we are so thrilled that this can be technology in our industries soon.
Yeah. And again, validity, yes. Results in tests, yes. National exposure, yes. Patent and Trade Office check boxes, yes. Ding, ding, ding. It keeps coming, and it's building. And again, we thank you for coming along, because we're about to crack 200,000 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
No small potatoes there. That puts us in the top 0.28 of 1% of all of YouTube.
Do you want to? I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I was talking to our representative with Google in India, and he said, when he was looking over our account with us and trying to help us do a good marketing campaign and whatnot, he said, wait a minute. You have 150,000 subscribers already? Like, how long have you been doing this? You've only been doing this for 4 or 5 months? That's amazing. And I'm like, I don't know. I've never done anything like this before. But he was like, wow, this is really great. Keep going. So yeah. People around the world are getting excited. People around the world are getting, like, they're realizing that this is hope.
Yes, the word is hope. And that is the ding, and there's a big ding on that one. Gong, I guess, is the word. Because hope is what we've been hoping for, is something that will take us in a different direction and remediate and turn things back to good and supply us with what we need to go forward that doesn't do a bunch of additional harm.
Mm-hmm. This reminds me, and we talked a little bit about this earlier before we came on the podcast, but this reminds me a lot of like Christopher Columbus, like 1492.
Right.
Where, you have this guy, he says, goes to the Queen and King and says, hey, I want 3 boats and I want to go sail to India. And they're like, all the smart people of the kingship and the queenship and all that were like, no, you can't do that because you're going to sail off the edge of the world. You're going to fall off the horizon. There's a lot of naysayers out there. And if you follow your gut and you follow your dreams and your inspirations, and you don't take no for an answer. And if we took no for an answer like 3 years ago, 7 years ago, we would have been done.
That's right.
Right. And so the only thing that we actually have a new book coming out that's just come out actually, and we call it The Journey Beyond the Quantum Horizon. Now, why do we say the quantum horizon? Because we are setting sail to a place over the horizon line with these ships. And we're going to go discover amazing things in the future with this technology.
Right. The good ship QKC is on its way.
It's on its way. And before we leave the harbor completely, we want as many people to come on board this ship, because there will be storms ahead. You can guarantee it. Once you get across the horizon, there are storms. But the more people we have with us on the ship to man the sails, to clean the deck,
Exactly.
to do all these things and help the captain and the shipmates, we are going to be successful. We're going to open a whole new world, and it's up to you. We've already done most of the work.
Yeah. Come along. I'm very excited that we're starting to take some outside interests coming in as well. So this will happen.
Yeah.
It's with who
Exactly.
and when, and the when is starting to look closer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just are inviting, this is a potentially global thing. So I want to get us on now. We've kind of brought out over a half-hour discussion already on this. This is
Do we
great.
have any other topics?
We sure do.
Okay. What are they?
Episode 6 setup, because we are proud to announce the addition to the Quantum Kinetics family of our chief production officer, and we are going to introduce him next episode. And you can get excited for this because we're going to be talking about a little of what the future looks like in terms of production. What does that look like for hardware? What does that look like for systems? What does that look like to take the imagination and turn it into something that we're going to build and give away to the world, or sell?
So
probably.
Well,
but,
we're partner and
but partner, yeah. And so we want this to be something that is less talked about and starting to be shown. Material, goods, commodity value.
You know, it's funny. We've talked to a lot of investors over the years, and had conversations with them, and every single one of them says, the easiest thing about an invention is the discovery of the invention.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest thing about the invention is getting it into industry, as getting through the permits, getting through all this, getting all through that, the build out, the troubleshooting. It's not easy. And that's why we need people on the ship, and that's why we're so excited to have our chief production officer come online.
We also have the added obstacles of people who don't want us to succeed. It's one thing if you're introducing a new peanut butter, but it's another when you're bringing out the world's first functioning and actual cold nuclear fusion that's safe for everyone.
Yeah.
Yet, I go back to the point, they're trying to copy us. If it's junk science, well, why are you investing so much time and effort into copying something that we're demonstrating, and again today demonstrated, is functional, available today?
It's really fun to do these podcasts and do these experiments and do these demonstrations because you get excited.
Yeah.
Like, you have a different background in industry. I have a different background in industry, more of an artist, teacher, pole vault coach type thing. But when you see it as a human being and you see, whoa, the potential here is amazing. If you don't get excited about it, there's something wrong with you. And here's another thing. Here's a good story, just to put a bow on it.
Put a bow. Okay.
So Steve Jobs, when he was around and doing Macintosh, the Apple, he would actually bring in people that he was going to hire into the shop or into the work area in the business. And he would spend pretty much all day with them and the team and having lunch and having coffee and talking about nerdy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And at the very end, they would all wink at each other and say, yeah, this person's cool. And then they'd say, okay, want to see something cool? We're going to take you to the back. And so they would open the back and they would have the new Macintosh that no one's ever seen before. And what they did, and I'm getting chills just reliving this, essentially, is that if the people didn't get excited, the potential, people that were going to work for him, didn't get super stoked and get on their hands and knees and get close and start asking questions about the new Mac, everyone in the room would go, you're out. See, there the doors, go out. Wait. So if you're not excited and you're not thrilled about this, then, this is not for you. And because this movement needs people who love it, who are good people, and like we mentioned before, they are filled with kid-like love for making the world better.
And they see something that's maybe 2 years or 4 years out that looks like hope becoming reality. That's the difference maker, is someone that can hope with that level of trust the future is going to be better, in part because of this.
It doesn't get any better than this. You saw it today on the table. You saw 9 LEDs light up. the watts of the power of the battery was only 5 watts. So we were basically generating more Q value 1 of electricity. We were creating more Q value of plasma with the KEV. I mean, if you don't believe what your eyes are seeing, then you just walk away from the trough, because we can't force you to drink.
Yeah. But
the Red Bull.
or any other dielectric medium for that matter. But everybody, thank you again. Yeah. We are just thrilled to be able to sit here, do this, share this, tell you, show you, demonstrate, and hopefully get you excited about what a future looks like.
Yeah.
I am just waiting and waiting with more expectation every day as we get closer to big things coming.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again, Randal, for coming along for the journey, and everyone else that wants to come on. Thank you so much. You know who you are out there. Thank you, investors. And there's a lot of people that have really helped us through the years that we haven't really mentioned.
Right.
And for all those people who have helped, thank you so much, because you've really, the human race has never gotten this far with fusion before. Never. This is as far as we've ever gotten before on the journey of the beyond the quantum horizon.
Right. This is plowing the green field right now. So very excited for that. And I just want to close out with, can't wait for episode 6. We're going to bring on our new CPO. Going to love this guy.
Yep, he's cool.
He is cool, and he'll have a lot to share, and it'll be a good show.
He's got a lot of industry experience.
Yeah. All right, so I close out. I'll say Sola Deo Gloria.
Very good.
All right.
All right, sounds really good. Episode 6 coming up, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
All right, take care. Bye-bye now.
All right, bye.